This is, I guess, a pilot thing. I mean, we'll see how it goes, I guess. Started to do a weekly recap of events, and I guess events since the end of the Sino-Indian War. I guess starting off with the latest big thing, Operation Epic Fury. Iran, over the past few years, has been closening relations with the People's Republic of China, and during the Sino-Indian War, they brought it upon themselves to intervene. Once the war concluded, they offered aid, but this was seen as an unnecessary escalation by Israel and the United States. Due to this, on top of Iran blaming Israel for its influence around the sanctions that has been pushed onto Iran regarding its nuclear aspirations, Iran has taken the steps and launched a ballistic missile attack on Israel, mainly centered around Jerusalem and Eilat. In accordance with these moves, Israel and the United States have not officially, but they are getting ready to conduct Operation Epic Fury, which, I mean, uncreative, but they're basing it off the real thing. Goals are to dismantle their missile capabilities, among other things. Shifting to the next big thing, Operation Allied Defense. And a meeting was leaked by Belarusian intelligence operatives around a meeting between Germany, France, and Poland upon the intervention of Serbia, which would include dismantling its military capabilities as well as establishing a no-fly zone over Russia, or not Russia, Serbia, in order to keep Russian missiles outside of Serbia and not expand their umbrella closer to the heartland of Europe. It was leaked by Belarus, and obviously Belarus informed Russia, who then made the entire meeting public. So it's interesting to see how that will play out. Serbia has been moving very close with Russia over the past year, including getting rid of officials who are not seen to be within the, I guess, goal of joining the Slavic Union, which, with this recent revelation, it's only inevitable that the agreement will be signed and ratified by all member states. In response to that, Russia has dedicated more troops, or has said they will dedicate more troops to Serbia, and they have been conducting patrols with nuclear bombers in the North Sea. And I guess the final thing of the big news of the big news events, the conclusion of the Sino-Indian War. Both nations have been pretty much faced almost complete destruction, with definitely over 1 million casualties between the two of them. Both have made economic and political moves. With India, I mean, they're still in recovery, but it is currently being brought back under stability by General Sandeep Jain. He was in charge of the Southern Region Military District, but he has been slowly unifying the country under martial law. Obviously, his first steps will probably be stability and then economic, or I guess countering the economic ruin from the large-scale conflict scene. The same with China. Xi Jinping has been sort of hidden away from the public, and they are ushering in a new era of leadership under the former Vice President Chen Jining. Obviously, the nation is under martial law, and they're making moves to see how they can recover from multiple nuclear strikes. In Europe, I mean, nothing crazy, mostly domestic. Ties between the European Union and the United Kingdom have been getting worse, as it has been over the past decade, uh, mainly culminating around Austria and United Kingdom becoming more friendly with the Russian state. Recently, the United Kingdom has lifted restrictions upon major components of the Russian economy, including energy and agricultural products, which, in the light of recent conflicts and not exact escalation but provocation by Russia onto Western Europe, that's just another thing that they're doing out of spite of Europe. Though they are trying to maintain defensive cooperation recently seen between the United Kingdom and Norway, and the United Kingdom, Norway, Finland, and Poland in Operation Baltic Sentry 2024 or 2034. So they're trying to have their cake and eat it at the same time, but joint exercises have also occurred in the Mediterranean between France, Spain, and Italy. All the exercises, whether or not they're aligned with the EDA or former NATO members, have all been in an effort to counter Russian influence and show solidarity between Western Europe, though with recent lights of the alleged Operation Ally Defense, it seems to have pushed Russian allies closer to them and further insert the teeth of the Russian pull into Europe. Because I mean, now they have 3 bases, allowing Russian missiles to potentially be nearly hundreds of miles away from Western Europe as opposed to thousands. But yeah, currently operations are being held between these nations. But yeah, with the relation of Operation Ally Defense, Serbia is only moving closer, which is concerning for all governments, but specifically Romania, Greece, and Austria. Rumors of conflict in eastern Ukraine. Nothing has been released by either of their government's presses. Ukraine has also been making moves to revitalize their economy by putting money into their titanium economy. Most of the news in the Middle East, obviously, Operation Urgent Fury and its background was covered, but Turkey is still making moves to further establish itself as a major player in the region by trying to be a voice between Israel and Iran, but obviously with conflict on the eve, there's not much they can do. Syria, in the shadow of all of its neighbors, they're trying to reorganize its military so and an ability to meet the regional demands of each province of the country, as opposed to trying to make a federalized, unilateral, all meets all organization. Afghanistan has reaffirmed its control over all the tribes of the nation, under the Emir, I don't know, the Haqqani. He has stated that the tribe's leaders must combine their efforts to counter Pakistani influence in the country. Pakistan, along with Saudi Arabia and also Turkey, are also meeting to discuss collective defense and security concerns in Saudi Arabia, though not much details were put out about the intent of it. In East Asia, starting with Burma, the country that fucking started it all, uh, they've been in conflict for many years now, mainly due to internal rebels with occasional Indian intervention, but the recent strikes, including chemical warfare on its cities, sort of culminated it, and they've been rebuilding since. Burma's, I mean, it's an economic ruin, but even with the nuclear strikes and the war, the other nations in the region haven't seen as a sign to maybe call for peace. With buildups, constant air violations, naval, not exactly conflicts, but tensions in the Gulf of Thailand, conflicts between Vietnam and Thailand seem inevitable. Recently, Vietnamese press showed large troop movements throughout eastern Thailand, and there have been issues with fishing and pirates in the Gulf of Thailand, something that Vietnam has been using as an excuse to possibly leverage conflict. Both nations have gotten or have purchased military assets from nations mainly centered around Europe, but conflict between the two seem inevitable. In the Philippines, recently there has been pretty much a rekindling of the resistance groups throughout southern Philippines. The two main ones are the Muslim groups, mainly in Davao, and also the communist groups both groups have been prevalent since the 1970s and 1980s, but the Philippine military has re-entered conflict with them, with recently involving air assets calling in strikes. Japan and Taiwan have established a collective defense agreement, which is centered around coming to Taiwan's aid in case of conflict. Japan's backing politically of Taiwan and also ensuring economic cooperation concerning electronics and microchips and such. The Korean front has been quiet, though recently there has been an alleged capturing of a South Korean operative in Pyongyang, which the Republic of Korea denies is an operative. In Africa, not much has been happening other than conflict in Ethiopia. Multiple rebel groups have been fighting, all vying for control of the overall country, between Somalis, Eritreans, Djibouti, and then multiple groups in the Ethiopian heartland. This conflict has caused massive humanitarian crisis, which multiple nations have responded with. But the conflict doesn't seem to come near an end, and has even branched out to causing conflict with Egyptian forces. Greece and Italy have both made moves to either establish or reaffirm their economic and security interests in the North African and Mediterranean regions. In the Americas, Chile, the lone survivor, they're supposed to be holding elections this month, though it's not much. I mean, they're just sort of fucked, to be honest. And then the United States, they announced the Trump-class battleships, and they're also working to build relations with the current Turkish administration. But that's currently most of the news. Yeah. Most nations have been trying to work together to set up choke points and to counter influence, and the world mostly has been dealing with the economic ramifications of the Sino-Hindu War. And that's it for now. It's probably dog shit, but I mean, it's the pilot, so it'll do.